Namaste. See, the topic that I wish to discuss today is on whether life is real or is it a dream. See, this is a very ancient question. This is not something today's question. This is not something a very modern question. The whole past has dealt on this question. So what I'm basically doing is that I'm taking 3-4 arguments, the dream arguments. See, the first dream argument that I would like to take is of René Descartes. See, René Descartes was a French philosopher. He was a mathematician. He was a scientist. He was also a philosopher. And you know what? He is very famous by his quote. That quote has become very famous for all these years. I think, therefore I am. He is known by this famous quote. I think, therefore I am. So, if I am existing here, like Advait is existing, why this Advait is there? His premise is because this Advait can think. That's why he is here. So you cannot deny my existence. So that was his premise, that was his basic foundation of his philosophy. So René Descartes has something called a dream argument. So his dream argument says, it is little skeptical, and it says, it challenges the idea that our senses can reliably distinguish reality from illusion. So he has this belief that our senses, our mind, can distinguish between reality and illusion. So existence or God, whatever you call it, we are embedded with power, with that discrimination. With our mind, our eyes, our senses, we can distinguish between reality and illusion. So his premise was, the premise argues that dreaming is similar to waking experiences. So our waking experience might be a dream. See, this is very important. Even Adi Shankara also said that we think we are waking. We think we are wakeful, but even in our wakeful state, most of the time we are daydreaming. We think we are wakeful, but even in our wakeful state, we are daydreaming. This is Adi Shankara said. So here, Descartes is also saying, his premise is that dreaming is similar to waking experiences, so our waking experience might be a dream. And his conclusion of his premise is, he concludes by saying that we can't know anything about the external world based upon our perception. So there is something called, we keep on arguing that perception is not same as reality. So Descartes' argument is saying that our perception is different from reality. So our external world, whatever our reality, my mind reality is based on my perception. So your mind reality is also based on your perception. So I first thought, let me take the dream arguments. So the first dream argument I took is of René Descartes. Now let me see what the other dream arguments. There was a Zen master by the name, basically he was a Taoist master. He was an ancient Taoist master in China. His name was Chuangzu. Chuangzu also had a similar problem, had a similar argument. Let us go into his argument. See, Chuangzu was a Taoist master. He had his own followers. One day in the morning, when Chuangzu woke up, he was very upset. So all his disciples came and they started asking Chuangzu, Master, what is the problem? You look upset. He said, yesterday in the night I saw a dream and now I am puzzled. They say, what is the problem? What did you saw in your dream? And how dream is making you upset? He said, that is the problem. The dream was, it is making me think about what the reality is. Whether dream is real or the reality, the waking reality is real, or the waking reality itself is a dream. So they tried to know what the master has seen in the dream. So Chuangzu is saying that yesterday in the night I saw that this Chuangzu, your master, I have become a butterfly. And the life was so rosy, the life was so beautiful. I started moving, flying from one flower to the other, and I started sipping nectar from different flowers. But in the morning when I woke up, my dream is shattered. But then after I woke up, I started thinking, who am I then? Yesterday in the night when I dreamed, I became a butterfly. And in the morning, the dream has gone. So I am thinking, who is this person? So his argument is, was I Chuangzu dreaming I was butterfly, or am I now really a butterfly dreaming that I am Chuangzu? So I really do not know, I am not able to distinguish whether now I am Chuangzu or a butterfly. Is I am a butterfly dreaming now as Chuangzu, similar to in the night I was Chuangzu, but I was dreaming as butterfly. So what is reality? Is dream the reality, or this waking life is reality, or this waking life a dream? So he says, I am upset. I am not able to conclude. I am not able to decide what is reality. One among the disciples, there was a smart disciple. The disciple went and he brought a bucket of very cold water, and he threw all the cold water on Chuangzu, on his master. And he tells his master, Master, it is enough. Don't dream. Please be wakeful. Come out of your dream. And Chuangzu started laughing. So Chuangzu said, you're right. This is what I wanted to see. You are a smart disciple. Now you do one thing. You already drenched me. Now it is very, very cold. Why don't you get me a cup of hot coffee? So he tells his disciple, okay, now you know the truth. Now you made me wake. Now you made me wake up. Now you please, now you poured all the cold water on me. I am shivering out of cold, so please go and get me a cup of coffee, hot coffee. So this is how this story ends. Now, these are not just stories. Zen masters play beautiful tricks, wonderful tricks with their disciples. They sometimes bring Zen cones. Like there is something called one hand clapping is a Zen cone. So they give these puzzles. They are actually not puzzles. They are called Zen cones. K-O-A-N. Cone. It is sort of a puzzle. It is sort of a paradox, but there is no answer to it. Why there is no answer to it? Because they are not designed for the intellectual mind. They are not designed that a mind should give the answer. No, it is Zen. We are talking about Advaita. Advaita and Zen, you got to have an existential answer, not the mind answer, not the intellectual answer. So these Zen masters play tricks with disciples. So that's how he brought this dream before the disciples, and there was a smart disciple, and said he brought a bucket of cold water. He poured that entire bucket on the master, made him wake. He said, Master, don't live in a dream, be awake, be wakeful. And this is a metaphor. So the metaphor, what is this metaphor? The bucket of cold water and throwing that water on the master is a metaphor for wakefulness. And the master is saying, now go and get me a cup of hot coffee. What is the metaphor for that? That metaphor, now this wakefulness is enlightenment, is a metaphor for awakening. This metaphor is for your enlightenment. And a hot cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea is a metaphor for the warmth of enlightenment. So this is the second argument on dream and reality, whether life is a dream or is it a reality. Now I would like to take another argument in a similar way. I shared that argument in some earlier video. Now this argument is, this anecdote is the dream seen by King Janaka. King Janaka, long ago, in the times of Bhagwan Ram, Lord Ram, we all know the epic Ramayana, there was a king by the name Janaka. He was basically Sita's father. So Janaka also saw a dream. In the dream what happens? He fights a war with some other king, and in the dream he loses the war. Everything has gone. His armies, his horses, his elephants, everything, even all his army is killed, only he was left, everything has gone. And the king says, but they had a tradition, earlier the kings had a tradition, the losing king requests the winner king to behead his head. They did not want to live in shame. So there was a tradition of beheading the king's head. In the same way, Janaka tells the winner king to behead his head. But the king gives him a pardon, one pardon. He says, I will let you go and live your life. You go out of this kingdom wherever you want to, but not in this kingdom. And I am sparing you. I don't want to kill you. You will live. And Janaka goes. He had nothing. Everything is, he has no clothes. All clothes are drenched with blood. He is hungry. He is thirsty. He has no food, nothing. And somewhere before a temple or a mandir, he finds people are, some kind of prasada was being given. So he goes there and grabs something to eat. And he thinks that, okay, let me sit at some corner and eat this food. He was very hungry. But while going on the way, when he picks up and tries to sit at one place, a bird comes and takes away even that food also. So even that food is also gone. He has nothing, and his dream is shattered. So he suddenly becomes wakeful. And in the same way, similar to Chuangzu, he is disturbed. He is now contemplating what is reality. So he is thinking, this can happen to me. Whatever that has happened to me in the dream can happen to me in reality. All this kingdom, whatever that I have, this palace, all the resources, all the money, all the wealth can go. Whatever that has happened in the dream can become a reality in a waking life. So his puzzle is, so what he does is that he takes this dream to his guru called Ashtavakra, sage Ashtavakra. In a similar way, it is a similar story of that of Chuangzu. So he takes this story to his guru Ashtavakra. Even Ashtavakra is also famous. Like Bhagavad Gita, we all heard, there is another Gita by the name Ashtavakra Gita or Mahagita. So it is written by sage Ashtavakra. So when he approaches Ashtavakra, he narrates the whole dream and he tells, sir, tell me what is the reality, because now I am disturbed. Whatever that has happened in my dream can happen in my real life. So he asks his guru, what is the reality? Whatever I saw in my dream, is that a reality? Or what I am seeing now in my waking life is a reality? Then sage Ashtavakra explains him the truth of Advaita, the Advait Vedanta. He narrates the truth, he shares the truth, explained in the Mandukya Upanishad. So Ashtavakra is now explaining the reality, the truth explained in the Mandukya Upanishad to King Janaka. So he is saying, see king, whatever you saw in your dream is also a reality, and whatever that you are seeing in your waking life is also a reality. But these two are not absolute realities. None of that, the reality of your waking life and the reality of your dreaming life, both are partial realities. So he says that we are not only waking people, we are dreaming people, waking people, and dreamless people, and awakened people. So he says there are 4 types of realities. He says there is something called a waking person, waking mind, and waking consciousness, and a waking experience called waking reality, which we all are, whatever that we see in our waking life. And he says there is something called a dreaming body, dreaming mind, and dreaming consciousness. And in that dreaming consciousness, there is something called a dreaming time. The dreaming time is totally a different time. It is not same as the waking time. So the dreaming mind also gives a different kind of reality, the reality of our dreams. Even that is also a reality, but it is a partial reality. There is also something called dreamless body, dreamless mind, and dreamless consciousness, and there is something called dreamless experience. So even that dreamless experience is also there, but it is again a partial reality. In our dreamless experience, we have seen when we woke up, when we come into our wakeful awareness, we think that in the night yesterday or in the dream or when we slept, there was nothing called dream. And that sleep was a very healthy sleep. That sleep was a nourishing sleep. We feel very healthy, very, it was sort of a healing thing. Why? Because there were no dreams in that sleep. It was absolutely a dreamless sleep. But we are coming to know of it only when we became wakeful. So when we come in wakeful awareness, we are getting aware of that dreamless sleep. So he is saying there is another reality called dreamless reality. So he says these are three different realities, but he says these three are partial realities. It is not a total reality. It is not an absolute reality. But he says Advaita talks about an absolute reality, a total reality. That is basically an unconditioned reality. These three realities are realized or seen by a conditioned mind. So it is conditioned by past. From years and years of past karmas, the past karmas, the past actions. So it is conditioned. And because of the condition, it has got its own layers, it has got its spectacles, it has got its own perceptions. So it creates its own reality, and that reality is a partial reality. So he says, one has to be wakeful to these three partial realities. One has to be wakeful to this mind which is creating these three different realities. And he says there is something called a fourth reality. That fourth reality is what is called, he is saying, an awakened reality. And that is a total reality. So there is something called an awakened body, awakened mind, which is a no mind, and an awakened consciousness, and an awakened reality. This awakened reality is a total reality, it is an absolute reality, it is an undivided reality. So this is the explanation given by sage Ashtavakra to the king Janaka. Now we'll then slowly travel and come back to what is called Buddha. Then what about Buddha? What is Buddha's insight into reality? Buddha is saying that our mind creates its own reality. That's what the modern physics is saying. I will come back to the modern physics later. So at Buddha's level, Buddha is saying that each one sees his own reality. Why? Because we don't have what is called, Buddha uses the word, what is called tathata. Buddha uses a word called suchness. Means we don't have an inner capability to see the reality as it is. So in all the reality that we see through our mind, there are aberrations. It is not a clear reality. It is not a reality which Buddha is saying seen by tathata, seen by suchness. A mind of samyata, a mind of samyama. Basically, it is not seen by an awakened mind. It is that reality is not seen by no mind. And then he brings in a method to transform this mind, which he says vipassana is one method. There could be many methods. There are 112 methods of meditation or mindfulness to transform this monkey mind into a monk mind, to bring in that suchness, to bring in that quality of tathata, to bring in that quality of seeing the reality as it is, to remove these glasses, to remove these perceptions. So he says, if you go through vipassana, you will be able to transform your mind to see the reality as it is. So this is at the level of the Buddha. Now, lastly, I am taking now, because we are in a modern age, we talk about science, we deny spirituality, we may deny Advaita, we may deny all these people that we talked about up till now. We are now coming to what is called, what is the take of modern science when it comes to dreams and reality. I mean, whatever that is it whatever that we are, is it really a reality or a dream? So what is the modern reality is saying? Modern science is saying, modern science is also saying the same thing, that each person sees his own reality. Because each person's brain, each person's mind creates his or her own reality because of the perceptions. So perception is not a reality, and reality is not a perception. Perception is a reality seen by that particular mind, a conditioned mind. And this thing of perception and reality, and mind and reality, dream and reality, goes further into the science. When we come to, it goes far ahead, and then we have something called observer effect. In the observer effect, what is happening? The observer, that is you and me, is influencing the reality. In science, we all are classical observers. And when we come in contact with the reality is broken. What science is saying, the unobserved reality is wave-like. It is infinite. It is immeasurable. It is non-local. But with the moment the observer comes in, that reality is broken. The coherence is broken. The wave function collapses. And the reality that we see is a partial reality. That reality is a particle reality. And that reality is a finite reality. And that reality is a non-local reality. This is what the modern science is telling us today. So our mind is basically creating a perception. Each mind is creating a perception, and we are not able to see that true reality, whatever that Buddha is saying. Seeing the reality as it is. Through the clarity of the mind. But that clarity is coming, that suchness is coming, that tathata is coming. He's saying, when the mind goes through the meditation process or the mindfulness process, or in Buddha's parlance, the mindfulness process of vipassana, only then that mind can see the reality as it is. Till that time, the mind only sees perceptions, not reality. And even the modern science is also saying the same thing. But then, why I am taking the modern science example at the last? Here I want to make a distinction. That the modern science is not willing to accept spirituality. They are denying spirituality. They are denying this realm, a different realm. A realm of looking at the mind itself. See, I distinguish science and spirituality. I have no conflict. What I am saying is, when I work with the mind, I am calling that as a science. But when I work on the mind, that I am calling as a spirituality. But what the science is saying, I will try to know the reality through my mind. I don't want to look at the mind. I will keep this observer intact and get the reality as it is, get that total reality, get that absolute reality. But this realm, discovered by the rishis of the Upanishads, rishis of the Vedanta, rishis of the Advaita, they have explored another dimension. The dimension of looking at the mind itself, not looking at the outside objects, but looking at the mind and looking at the inner objects. The objects like emotions, the objects like thoughts, the objects like actions. So looking at you at these three levels. And then there is a miracle. In this process of observation, just like what is happening in science, the reality is breaking down. The wave function is collapsing. The reality is changing. The coherence is broken. In a similar way, in this realm, there is another mystery. In that mystery, what is happening? Through the process of observation, through the process of witnessing, through the process of mindfulness, the thoughts cease to exist. The mind is becoming a no mind. Now here comes a problem. We are not able to understand what this no mind is. Let me try to deal this in the simplest way possible. What is mind, what is brain, and what is no mind? Let me take one or two examples. Let us say I buy a computer or a mobile, let's say from one brand. So what they call, it is coming to me from a factory. So everything is preloaded, the software, the operating system, or whatever the basic apps, everything is preloaded and it is coming to me. So I have got either some kind of a device or a mobile phone or a computer. Let's say it's an Android phone or an iPhone, or let's say it's a Microsoft Windows laptop, or whatever device. It is coming, it is at a factory state, everything that is preloaded, it is preloaded at a factory state, it is coming to you, and you have still not opened it, you have not put anything from your side, no data has gone, no thought has gone, no word has gone, no alphabet has gone from your side. That I am calling a brain. That is not a mind. That is a brain. I am just giving an analogy. See, no mind is something existential. Enlightenment is something existential. It is not in time, it is non-local. So I cannot substitute that with a mundane example. So you cannot substitute a mundane example for a spiritual example. So all mundane examples are just for the heck of analogy. So I am just bringing an analogy. So I am saying this device, whatever that is coming to you from the factory state, whether a mobile or a laptop, this I am calling a brain. So whatever the brain that has come to us, it has come from the existence. But whatever that is being fed into it, through your mother, through your parents, through your father, through your friends, through the society, through the teachers, through the synagogues, that is your mind. That is not your brain. All the database that is going into it and then it is settling over that factory state brain. It is settling over that as a layer. It is your mind, it is not brain. So brain and mind, how I am going to distinguish? I am distinguishing this way. Unconditioned mind is a brain. Conditioned brain is a mind. This is the difference. And then you have to consciously uncondition it through meditation, through the meditation process. Why Upasana or why any other meditation method? Why any one or few of the 112 meditation methods? Because this conditioned mind has to pass through in order to attain to the unconditioned mind, but consciously. To develop this skill, this attitude, this state, which Buddha calls, just in a modern parlance I am saying skill, just in a modern parlance I am saying sort of a skill, but it is not a skill. So don't say enlightenment is a skill. No, it cannot be learned. So I am making that difference very clearly. So you are creating an ability to see things as it is. That tathata, that outcome, that goal, culmination from that meditative process is you are attaining a state of tathata or suchness or an ability to see things as it is. That is your wakeful mind. Not this wakeful mind, awakened mind. Your enlightened mind. That mind is able to see reality as it is. So it is saying that infinite reality. It is saying that non-local reality. And that is what Astavakra is saying. That reality is non-dual, Janaka. So he is saying, King Janaka, that reality is non-dual. It is Advait. So all the rishis of the Upanishads, all the rishis of Vedanta, they were scientists as well as sages. When we say rishi, he is a scientist as well as a sage. What I am saying is he has delved in both the dimensions. He has explored both the dimensions. The dimension of science, what the science is calling, it is calling a material reality, a material realm. But in fact, there is nothing called material. The modern science has come to a juncture. In science, there is nothing looks like matter. But they are not willing to accept it. They are scared. They feel that their science has come to an end. It is sort of a dead end. They don't want to dwell. They don't want to delve into the other dimension. The dimension explored by the sages of the Upanishads and the sages of the Vedanta. Now, I am making this distinction. A rishi is a person who has seen both the dimensions. He has explored both the dimensions, the material dimension as well as the spiritual dimension. Spiritual dimension is reckoned by this mind, not by this monkey mind, but a mind which is an unconditioned mind. It has to go through the process of meditation. There is no other way. You may be asking me, is there any other way? That is what the Vedanta is saying. That is what the Upanishads are saying. No matter you do what, you can grow in science, you can research, you can go on and on like this in science, maybe for another 1000 years. I don't think we'll be able to reckon or we'll be able to realize that reality. So science and spirituality, there is no conflict. As far as I am concerned, I don't see any conflict. I am only saying there are two different dimensions. So unless I want to conclude, I want to culminate this today's discussion. So I am only saying this, that we have to explore both the dimensions to see the reality as it is, or to see the reality, or to see the total reality, unbroken reality. And that is not possible unless I see through suchness or through tathata, through the mind that can see the reality as it is. Just as a metaphor, I am calling that mind as a monk mind. And I am calling this mind as a monkey mind, just as a metaphor. Don't twist and turn. Don't break it off. Don't try to stretch it. This is just an argument, just a sort of a metaphor. So I am to conclude it. So I want to conclude it. I took all the arguments, the dream arguments, starting from Rene Descartes, and then the Zen master or the Taoist master Chuang-Tzu, and then the argument of sage King Janaka and sage Astavakra, and then we came to what is the take of modern science when it comes to dream and reality, mind and reality. So I am concluding, in the conclusion, the modern science is very, very right, that this mind is only seeing perception. This mind is seeing only that mind's reality, but not the reality. Buddha is saying you can see the reality. Advaita is saying you can see the reality, not the mind reality, not your reality. Your reality is just a perception. And then Upanishads are saying there is something called the fourth, there is something called the chaturtham, there is something called advitiyam, and in that state you can see the total reality. It is an unbroken reality, and it is a reality seen by an unconditioned mind. So that is it in today's discussion. I am stopping it. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.